And that's how champions play.
India's Tour of Australia, brought to you by ICICI Bank UK Limited.
Hello and welcome to a very special Ray Events cricket conversation. In this program, two eminent cricketers of the past will discuss the present. Indeed, preview the India-Australia Test Series Down Under starting on the 17th of December. Ian Chappell played 75 Test matches for Australia, scored over 5,000 runs and averaged nearly 43. He captained Australia in 30 tests and won 15 of them. He was one of the great tacticians of the game. He has thereafter been equally incisive and straight-talking as a broadcaster and writer. Mohammad Azharuddin played 99 tests for India, scored over 6,000 runs, averaged above 45. He captained India in 47 tests and won 14 of them. His magnificent wristy short-arm flick past mid-wicket was a sight to behold. He is now President of the Hyderabad Cricket Association. We will then be joined by a panel of leading cricket writers to put questions to Ian and Azhar. The panel will comprise of Mihir Bose, author of several books on cricket, Julian Gaia of AFP, both from London, then Qamar Ahmed, who writes for The Dawn from Karachi, and Indranil Basu of Sports Kida from Delhi. We also expect to be joined by Kushan Sharkar of PTI and Srinivas Rao of the Times of India from Delhi and Mumbai respectively. But first, here's a message from ICICI Bank.
Thanks Ashish and Ray Events for organizing this webinar with esteemed guest speakers. We at ICICI are very happy to be part of this event as a sponsor. As most of you would be aware of, that ICICI Bank is one of the leading banking and financial services institution spread across 15 countries. In fact, the consolidated asset size that we have is around 13.77 trillion. In the UK, we are present since 2003, and over the past many years, ICICI Bank UK has emerged as one of the full-service commercial banks servicing retail, SME and corporate clients. We are currently having 7 branches spread across Midlands and London, and we have a very vibrant digital channel to serve clients from the comfort of their home, apart from having a iMobile and internet banking. In fact, we are one of the few banks in UK where a current account can be opened digitally, and in fact I'm proud to say that we are the only bank wherein an account can be opened digitally from the comfort of home in India, even before you are being able to land here in UK. Fully activated debit card and an account is already there before you start from India. Thanks to our digital enhancements, we also provide instant remittance to India at very competitive prices. Since we are an Indian bank and Indian diaspora is always close to our hearts, we also provide wide range of Indian banking services sitting here in UK, be it your NR account, be it your home loan account, remittance, or any other servicing that you require either locally or in India without having to go back to India. So next time when you come in contact, or if you have somebody who wants any kind of services for between UK to India corridor, please do think of us and connect with us. I'm sure it will be one of the very wonderful experience on the banking side.
So off we go now, and coming to you first, Ian, what occurs to me is that in this series, which is different from the one that took place 2 years ago, Australia will once again have the services of Steve Smith and David Warner, if not initially, most likely for the latter part, of the or later part of the series. And another point which is not to be ignored is that there's Labuschagne, who has blossomed since his appearance against India 2 years ago. So how do you see the strength, which I personally think is quite formidable as far as the Australian middle order is concerned?
Everything that could go wrong with the opening position has gone wrong. The big blow will be Warner missing certainly the first test. You've got Burns, who has struggled to make a run the whole summer, and it's probably now, I can't see how they can pick Pekovsky after another concussion. I think that makes 9 concussions for the young bloke. And just watching the footage and the way he went down on his knees, it just looked to me like a guy who, you know, he felt that this was a blow he didn't need. So I don't think they can possibly play him in the first test, either on medical grounds or his confidence at the moment against the short pitch ball would be shot. So I think Australia's probably looking at a Burns and Marcus Harris to open the batting in the first test.
And how do you see the number 6 position? Do you reckon it'll be a specialist batsman, or do you see an all-rounder at number 6?
Well, I thought originally they'd probably play Green in the Sydney test, particularly if he was bowling a bit more. I thought they might use him as the third seamer and pick 2 spinners. I like the look of Swepson. I think he's got to get a game, if not anywhere else, at least in Sydney, play Nathan Lyon and Swepson. But the fact that he got 100 the other day and he picked up a couple of wickets, if the selectors were being really brave, I think they'd pick Cameron Green for the Adelaide test. I mean, if you look at a day-night test match, an all-rounder at number 6 in a day-night test match is very, very handy, because I think there's going to be a temptation from time to time to declare sometime in that last session. If you've got a decent, you know, let's say you've got 250, I think particularly with Australia's good bowling attack, if you wanted to be a real gambler as a captain, I think you could declare and try and pick up a few wickets in that evening session. So that's one thing I like about a day-night test match. I think it adds to the tactical side of the game, and anything that adds to the tactical side is good as far as I'm concerned. I'd be tempted to pick Green in Adelaide, but I think the Australian selection panel is a bit on the conservative side, so I suspect that he's not going to play in Adelaide.
What about the bowling? 3 fast bowlers and Lyon as the spinner?
Yeah, that'll be the attack. If Mitchell Starc isn't back from compassionate leave, pretty simple replacement there. They'll pick James Pattinson, who's a very good bowler. So the bowling attack really is not a problem. It's the top of the batting order that would be the biggest concern.
Coming to you, Azhar, are you happy with the squad that's gone out from India?
Well, I think India has a very good squad. You know, they've been playing well, even in the test matches also. But I think the only thing I feel is that, you know, if the wickets are like the ball is moving, if there's a little bit of bounce, they might struggle initially, you know, then playing with the pink ball after a very, very long time. So I'm playing day and night game cricket. In a 5-day game is totally different from playing. They're totally accustomed to playing in a 1-day game, day and night. But then to get acclimatized and then get used to the pink ball, I think it will take time. I think for both the sides, it will take time. But I think we've got a very good squad. I think if the wicket is good, you know, I think I honestly feel that they would definitely play 2 spinners, if not 1. But I think we have a very good attack. We've got a very good side. We've got good batting now. So I think I wish Pandya could have stayed back and played the game also as a good all-rounder. Although he's bowled in 1 game. But I think we really don't know what the problem with his back is. But I think as a batsman also in a test match, also you need players in test matches like, you know, I mean, they go out and play that type of game, you know, because I think if you see in many and the matches Pandya has played. I think he scored runs. So hopefully, the batting order stays good, and then they have to make a big score. And if India has to really win, they have to make a big score if they bat first.
India also has a problem with their opening combination because it hasn't really been a stable combination which has given the side a good start. So how do you see that?
Well, I think as I've said, because we struggled opening, in a test match or for that matter in any format in a game of cricket. I mean, you need a good start. The moment you get a good start, and then that start can be capitalized by the players who are coming number 3, 4, and 5. So India has really struggled on that account, but hopefully, in these 3 or 4 test matches now, I think they will have somebody, like they have a set batting opening partnership, because as we keep changing openers from time to time, so it's not very good. So I think we need to give a player, a time to just be there and then get that confidence back and at least give 3 or 4 test matches so that you know where he stands.
So who would your 2 openers be?
Well, I think Mayank Agarwal will definitely play, but I think Cheteshwar Pujara they will not make him open. But it remains to be seen who are the other. It depends on who are the other opener who's going to. Right, it depends on the management. We really don't know exactly.
Would you be tempted?
Well, I think Parthiv Shaw, I think, is there. But I think for Parthiv Shaw, he's a very good player. For an opening batsman, you need to have a very solid technique. So maybe when the ball is moving, when the ball is bouncing, he might find it difficult. But since he's already played, he's already opened for India. And I was very unlucky that he got injured in the last time the Indian toured Australia. But I think he might get a chance, the first shot. He might be the first. Maybe those 2 players will open there.
Would you be tempted to play KL Rahul as a batsman wicket-keeper rather than a specialist wicket-keeper like Ridhiman Shah?
But I think at test match, I don't think they will take a chance, because Ridhiman Shah has not played cricket for a long time, but he's already come back now and he's proved that he's batted. He's been batting well and he's been keeping well also. So I think it's always better to play a regular keeper than a makeshift keeper and batsman. But I think Rahul is not a batsman, he's outstanding batsman, but I've not seen him keep in the test matches, so it's very hard for me to say that.
You said something interesting that you'd be inclined to play 2 spinners.
Yes.
So which 2 spinners would you play?
Well, I think Ashwin definitely will play. I think we have to play a leg spinner because we need to play a leg spinner. Leg spinner is the most important. It's a different variety because then you're playing the same players. Because I don't know how fit Jadeja is. But for wickets where there is not much of help, Jadeja might not be able to. Turn the ball so much or be of use bowling wise. But I think he's a good batsman, also good outstanding all-rounder. But it remains to be seen. If I was there, I would play leg spinner and off spinner.
One last question before I move on is playing this day-night test as the very first encounter. Could BCCI have chosen to play a day-night later so that by that stage, India would have got accustomed to the conditions?
I think both the teams will have the same problem because there's nothing, whether playing in the beginning of playing later, you're going to play with the pink ball. Everybody knows that you're going to play that match with the pink ball. Maybe the players, when they play the first 3 test matches, they're as you said, they might get acclimatized to the conditions and the playing, coming back from one-day games and then playing a 5-day game is totally different. You need different type of concentration. So that's why it's called test matches. So I think now when they're playing professionally, all the players are very professional. So I think they should adapt to any situation, to any position they are going to play or they have been asked to play.
I should, of course, say for the benefit of those attending this event that I had the pleasure of describing Azharuddin's debut in Test cricket at the Eden Gardens ball by ball, including describing his stroke that got him his 100, which in fact the first of 3 consecutive Test match 100s, quite a remarkable performance. Returning to Ian, then how would you, as let us say captain or coach of Australia, see the strengths and weaknesses of the Indian team, and how would you try and exploit any weakness that they have?
Well, as I said, that the Australian pace attack is a very good one. I think India, like Australia, has got some problems at the top of the order. So really the key there is to get a couple of wickets early and get Kohli in early. I think you obviously increase your chances of winning the game. So that'd be one area. I'm just wondering, if you pick two spinners, how many quicks are you going to have?
Well, I think that, as I've said, to win a test match, you need 5 main bowlers. I mean, I've always felt that all the time, because I know you want to. So there are sometimes, when the wicket is flat, you can go for, 4 bowlers, like somebody else who can bowl 10 or 12, 15 overs a day. But I always felt that as a captain, you needed your best 5 bowlers to win the game, because I think at the end of the day, the bowlers are going to win the game. But I found it very difficult also at times, like when playing in home conditions where the wickets were turning. So one bowler always got under bowled, but I think the conditions are not going to be like that in Australia. So that is one of the reasons why I said that.
So you would have 3 fast bowlers and 2 spinners as your bowling combination.
Yes.
And your 3 fast bowlers?
I think Shami, Bumrah, and I think that I don't mind if they give the young guy, that Siraj has already got selected. He's been bowling well. I always felt that he's not a one day bowler, or a T20 bowler. I always felt, when I've seen him play in Hyderabad also, he bowls very well in a 3-day game. So maybe I think they should give him that chance, I feel.
So you're saying Siraj ahead of Umesh Yadav?
Well, I think so, yeah, because we have seen Umesh Yadav, has been bowling, but I think it's always good to have young players coming up, because I think Umesh is not going to play for a long time as well. I know he's been doing well, he's done well over a period of time, but I think we need to push somebody new, because, Australian players have not played Siraj in a 3-day game. They have played in a 1-day game. Playing a 1-day game and a 3-day game are two totally different things. So I feel that, we have to get the youngsters going. I think it'll be a very good experience for him to play in the first test match.
So what do you see as any strengths or weaknesses in the Australian side which India could exploit?
But I think, as Ian sir is saying that, Australia is struggling with the opening slot, because now with Warner is not there, so they find it very hard, because Harris has played, and then Joe Burns is going to come back and play. I think after a long time, I think he'll play. After the maybe the series in England. So I think they find it difficult. If the wicket is moving, both the sides will find it difficult to play, because since I've always seen, over a period of time in so many years, wherever the ball is moving, the batsmen are found wanting, because they're used to playing on so flat wickets, scoring those big runs. But then the moment the ball swings, most of the players, even the best of the players have been found wanting play swing bowling. So I think the trend has changed. So I think anywhere if you get a good wicket where the ball is moving, and I think both the teams will find it difficult. But I think the main player, they have to get out is Steve Smith. Steve Smith is the main player. If they get Steve Smith out quickly, and then they can have a chance of getting the others out. Quickly.
How would you approach getting him out?
Well, I think he's a very unconventional player. You just have to make sure that he may approach in the sense, he's going to play very positive. When player, that's why the way I like about his batting is like he always plays very positively. He doesn't, play according to the situation where, if you lose 2 or 3 wickets also, but he scores runs, But I think he gives chances as well, because it's a very unconventional game. So we have to wait. We have to keep bowling in the right length and right areas, in the sense, like bowl on the off-stump line and move the ball away. So he might find it, he won't find it difficult, because his play runs, he scored enormous runs, his batting average is close to 60. So I think you have to just hope that he is not in form.
Ian, normally the Adelaide wicket is a very good batting wicket. Do you reckon that the fact that it's a going to be a day-night test match will bring in variables which normally wouldn't exist.
Adelaide's had, I don't know, this is probably the fifth day-nighter. And the curator there, Damien Huff, has really got the formula absolutely right. He's produced terrific wickets for the day-nighters. They've all been good games. They've given everybody a chance, but not ridiculously in favour of the bowlers. Even at night, it hasn't, the bowlers have a greater chance at night, but not ridiculous. So I would say there's going to be a result in Adelaide. You might as well go into the test match with the mentality there's not going to be a draw, so we better win this game, because there'll be enough there for the bowlers that the batsmen aren't going to make huge scores, the teams aren't going to make huge scores. So I think what you'll see will be a very good cricket wicket.
Yes, which it normally is. And so in terms of the series, how do you see it panning out?
Well, the other day I said 2-1 to Australia, but that was before I knew that Warner was out. I still think even with Warner out, Australia's batting is heavily reliant now, with Warner out, is heavily reliant on two players, Labuschagne and Smith. Now, if India can find a way to get Smith out, then they've got a real chance of winning the series. But if they can't get Smith out, then they're in trouble, because as he's shown, he'll bat, and he'll bat forever. Labuschagne is a very good player. Things have gone his way so far in the last, 12, 18 months. So they could easily turn against him a little bit. But Australia now, without Warner, is very heavily reliant on those two. So what India have got to do, particularly Smith, they've got to find a way to get Smith out. You don't think about containing him. You've got to find a way to get him out.
So if you don't play an all-rounder at number 6, then you're really dependent on 3 fast bowlers and 1 spinner.
That's been plenty, and I think it'll be plenty in Adelaide. The Adelaide pitch, as it was for day test matches, definitely needed 5 bowlers. But for a day-nighter, I don't think you need the extra bowler. You've got, if Travis Head plays, he can give you a few overs of off spin. Smith might bowl a couple of overs of leg spin. I mean, you're only talking about getting half a dozen extra overs out of somebody. Or Labuschagne is another one. He's quite a decent leg spinner. So, you're talking 6 or 8 overs, that they can easily fill those.
Azhar, what would your top 6 in the batting order be?
I think you play the 2 openers, Parthiv Shaw and Agarwal. Then you have number 3 Pujara, and you have Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, and you have 1 wicket-keeper anyways, Saha. So I always feel that if your first 5 or 6 batsmen don't score runs, then you can't expect the lower order to score runs all the time, because they're the main players. I think they need to take the responsibility and score runs. So I think if you have too many players also, in the too many batsmen, if you get too many batsmen in the side, then it's a problem as well, because then you never know what is going to happen, because then you might fall short of 1 bowler or something like that. So I think these are the 5 more important players, who've been playing for a long time, except for the opener. But I think these 3 players have really done well over a period of time. So I think these are the main players for us. Virat Kohli's wicket is going to be very, very important for any side. But I think you have seen in the last series, Cheteshwar Pujara has done really well. I think he scored more than 300, 400 runs in the last series, last time when India went to Australia. So we are hoping that he gets going, because he's one player, he will carry the side.
But if you are going to play Saha as wicket-keeper, then it becomes important that Ravindra Jadeja is available. because then he
As
would
I said,
provide a little bit of batting.
Yeah, because if Ravindra Jadeja was available, then he will have play Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja. Because I'm not sure whether, because he got hit on his head, so we really don't know about his fitness, whether he's going to play or not going to play. Because maybe I think he had a little bit of concussion also. I think if I'm right, I'm not too sure, because after he got hit, the reports were not very clear. They didn't. Nobody clarified from the team that there was a problem with him or what the problem was. But I think if he's fit, then he will definitely play, because batting is his forte. Is his forte as well. He played well, he scored runs in the one-day games as well. But he batted well in the test matches also. So I think, there's nothing much you can do. If he's not playing, then the leg spinner will play.
Right. At this point, I'm pleased to welcome Srinivas Rao of Times of India, and we'll move on to our cricket writers for them to provide their perspectives and questions. And shall we start with Julian Gaia? Julian, your question, please.
Yeah, my question for both Ian and Azhar is this. The Indian team are having to live in a biosecure bubble. I just wondered if either Ian or Azhar had ever experienced similar restrictions of any kind like that when they were playing, and what they think the impact on the India team might be being cooped up in this bubble for a great length of time.
The Australian team I played in, mate, we had curfews. We were in bed by 8 o'clock every night. All except for Doug Walters, of course. No, I've never experienced anything like it, and I'm not surprised that some players are starting to talk about bubble fatigue. And we've had a couple of the England players have already pulled out of the BBL for that reason.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be, if you look at what India have got coming up, they're going to need a huge squad of players, because I'm sure that bubble fatigue is going to kick in there. So my sympathy is with the players, the modern players, having to do this. And, you're going to have situations like they've got in South Africa at the moment, where, I'm not surprised that the English players have got very nervous and said, we're out of here. So, we're in this situation where it's going to be very fluid. And I think all teams are going to need a big squad of players, not just because you've got to isolate and so on, but because there's going to be this mental fatigue from being stuck in a bubble.
Well, thank you.
I totally agree with the answer that this is the problem we have, and it's a pandemic situation where there's nothing can be done, because whatever the rules are, they have to follow. Because if you see the players in New Zealand, the Pakistan players, I think about 8 or 9 players got infected, because I don't know what happened even with the bubble. I don't know what they were doing, but I think it's a hard situation for everybody, because for players, I never experienced, and Sir has also never experienced these type of situations, except that, he was in bed at 8 o'clock. We has to be in bed at 10 o'clock. So that's the only difference I can say now. But I think, the situation is such, we have to follow it. It's very difficult times, but at least, you're playing. It is better than playing rather than sitting at home and not playing any cricket for a long time. So at least I think the boards have, taken a lot of initiative. All the boards all over the world, all the associations or the boards, they've taken a good initiative, to carry on with the game. And with the bubble, I think really succeeded. So hopefully there are going to be incidents where it's going to happen, as Ian Sir said, that with the England side, a couple of players have pulled out because they're scared. I think these are things, it's very personal. If they want to pull out, if they have fears, I think they will. But now since the vaccine is also come up now, so at least you have the crowds in Australia watching the game. If you see the IPL and in the series in the summer in England, not one crowd, not one person was allowed to watch the game in the crowd, in the stadium. So, but at least now the Australia have got people who are coming and watching the game. So I think it will change, but I think with the bubble, we have to respect.
Talking about crowds, of course, is very cool.
We're in bed at 8 o'clock at night.
No, 10 o'clock at night.
No, I didn't say it was 8 o'clock at night.
No, you didn't say 8 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock, you said.
Yeah.
It can be at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, you had to be in before the start of play, mate.
Before That's right.
Yes. Most
Thank you.
cricketers in your generation were of that habit. But talking about crowds, it's delightful, of course, to see crowds back, which we didn't see in England, although full credit to the ECB for having set the ball rolling in this pandemic situation. But Ian, is there any feedback from the crowds that have been attending the matches, let us say at Sydney or Canberra? Are there any reports of infections spreading?
No, we've been pretty lucky in Australia. I mean, since about mid-July, I've been living a pretty normal life. Victoria copped it badly. They were probably nearly 6 months in lockdown, serious lockdown. So there were a lot of problems there. In fact, at one stage it was looking like the Boxing Day test wouldn't be in Melbourne. But really, Australia's had very, very few cases. And so far, there's been no reports of anybody catching the virus from attending the cricket. So let's hope it stays that way.
Mihir, welcome.
Thank you.
Your question, please.
Yeah, I have a two-part question, if I may be allowed to make it. First of all, like you, I was there at Eden Gardens to watch Azharuddin's wonderful century, and I was also at Lord's when he made perhaps an even greater century, considered one of the best innings ever played at Lord's. Best innings played in England. The way he played his shots, he should have marketed them, and instead of the sweep shot, they would have called it Azharuddin shot, and you would have earned a lot of money, Azhar. But the question to both of you is, what you haven't mentioned is that Kohli is not going to be there for the entire series. And Kohli is such a crucial batsman for India. He's the bedrock of the Indian innings. And the other thing, this is a question more to Ian. I remember as a schoolboy reading Ian praising Prasanna. That was wonderful for us schoolboys in India to hear Ian Chappell talk about Prasanna's wonderful bowling in the series in 67, 68. But the Indian attack now is very different. It's a pace attack because India now has gone back to the start of his cricket. Azhar was saying they could play 4 fast bowlers. I'm sorry Pandya is not there, but because he would have been very useful. And fast bowlers, in fact, have been very effective abroad. Is that something that Australia might find difficult to cope with?
The Indian pace bowlers performed extremely well on the last tour. I think you'll miss Ishant because he's taller, much like the Australian pace bowlers, and able to take advantage of the steep bounce in Australia. So I think he'll be missed. But I think it's ideal for India playing the first test match a day-nighter in Adelaide because there'll be a bit of grass on the pitch, so there'll be some movement around. And to me, Shami and Bumrah are 2 very, very smart quickies. I think I had a few drinks with Ravi the other night, and I suspect that probably Yadav is going to get the nod as the third pace bowler. So I think India will bowl pretty well and get at Smith early, but they've got to find a way to get him out cheaply. If he makes big runs in the series, India are in trouble.
Azhar?
Yes, definitely. Kohli will be missed, after the first test match. And I think so the players know it already. The board knows it. Everybody knows it. So they have to be prepared, that whoever comes and plays in place of Kohli, it will be like a huge experience. He'll gain good experience also. And it'll be good pressure on him as well. So I think he can't, once you don't have a player, when you don't have a player, the circumstances are such. But as I've said, we have a good batting side and we have batting side and we have good bowlers as well. The bowlers have performed really well.
Ian made a good point about Ishant Sharma's extra height, and he will be available, I'm told, from the 3rd test onwards. But obviously, he'll be missed in the first 2 test matches. So next, can we have Qamar Ahmed from Karachi with your question?
Okay, having toured Australia with various high-profile teams over the year, I always felt that the visiting team's batsmen do struggle on pitches of swift and bounce. Not any different with the Pakistan or Indian team, who have a reputation of not playing well against lifting or bouncing pitches. I also have the privilege of the company of two very accomplished cricketers in this show, Ian Chappell and Azharuddin, whom both of them I know very well. I covered a pink ball test, the first by Pakistan against the West Indies at Dubai. People talk about the behavior of the pink ball test. My question to Ian and to Azhar is that there are a lot of stories about pink ball movement, day and night game and all that. I covered a triple century in the pink ball test at Dubai. Would you believe this? By the Pakistan player Azhar Ali. And he had no problem facing the pink ball in the floodlight at the Dubai Stadium. So I want to know from Ian's experience and Mohammad Azharuddin's experience, how these bunch of fine Indian batsmen who are very good on home pitches and has a reputation of a well-knitted batting lineup in the world, one of the best. Mir Bose just mentioned about Kohli not being available, or Ashis, you said perhaps in the whole series. So how would the Indian batsmen, Ian and Azhar, would face the pink ball test? I know in the Adelaide test, New Zealand lost the pink ball test in 2.5 days, I think 2 days perhaps.
Yeah, I think it was still a very good game. It was over in 3 days. But the pitch, that was the first of them, and I think Damien Huff probably left a bit more grass on that pitch because he was trying to protect the pink ball. Since then, he's lowered the mower cutters a bit, and I think he's got the formula absolutely right. So it's a good battle. I don't think you'll see a high-scoring Test match. But to me, the best Test matches are when the scores, particularly in the first innings, are between 275 and about 350. Anything in there, you generally get a good Test match. I think you'll probably, if you bat first and get 300, I think you're well on the way to a victory at Adelaide in this Test.
I mean, players are now used to playing with the pink ball. Now they know that when they go, and Australia definitely has one game they definitely play with the pink ball. And also, I think we tried playing the pink ball in Eden Gardens. I think that test match was over in 2 days. But Bangladesh was a very depleted side. Like they didn't have many good players. But as I've said, the pink ball, it's come here to stay. But I'm not actually in favor of. Day and night games for Test matches. That is my very personal opinion, and also with the pink ball. So I think now the players are used to it. Now it is coming to stay. But I think they have played pink ball before as well. So I don't think they would find it very difficult, because you're talking about the Australian wickets. When I was playing, when Sir was playing, the wickets were had more bounce than what they have now. I think the bounce is there, but it's not that steep, which was there in the 90s and maybe in the 80s and 70s when Sir played. So I think the wicket has, even in Australia, the wickets have really slowed down a little. Maybe 1 or 2 wickets. One wicket might have some pace and bounce, because then you're not playing at Waka also. So I think you play at a different ground. So I think wickets have changed over a period of time in Australia also. So Indian team has already done well in all the formats and all over the world. So I don't see any reason why they would not do well in this series.
Ian, is it your impression that the ball manufacturer has made adjustments since the first test that was played at Adelaide with the pink ball, and therefore the ball moves a little less these days than the original manufacturer?
Yeah, I think it's been a combination of the ball manufacturers making a few adjustments. Damien Huff, as I said, he's lowered the cutters. I'm not too sure on the figures. I think he said 10 millimetres, the one against New Zealand. Then he came back to 8 millimetres, the length of the grass. Now that might be total rubbish, but those are the numbers that seem to stick in my head. Brad, I was listening to Brad Haddon the other day doing some commentary, and he made an interesting point. He said it's not just the quick bowlers with the pink ball and under lights. He said the spinners, it's very hard to pick up the seam so as you can clarify what you think you're seeing. I mean, you need to be seeing, obviously, the ball out of the bowler's hand, and that'll give you a bit of information. But as a batsman, once you then saw the seam coming down, that confirmed what you thought you'd seen out of the hand. Now, Brad is saying it's with the pink ball, it's harder to pick up the seam at night. So that might be interesting. I mean, others talking about two spinners. If that is a problem, then probably Kuldeep is India's best choice as a second spinner.
Interesting. Moving on, Kushan Shorkar, we can't see you. Kushan of PTI, your question, please.
Yeah. My question, hello, can you hear me, Ian?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. My question is for Ian, and that is Ajinkya Rahane will be captaining India in the 3 test matches, and the preceding 12 to 18 months, he hasn't had a great run. So how do you see him captaining the team if he's not performing that well, and 3 test matches in Australia, no Virat Kohli? Like, how do you see him leading the team, and what's your impression of him would be as a leader?
I think he's a very good captain. I've only seen him captain 1 test match. That was against Australia when India needed to win the series. And I thought his captaincy was fabulous. I was really impressed. Very aggressive captain. One of the things that stood out, David Warner was really going well in the first innings. Australia were looking like getting on top with Warner scoring quickly, and he took the gamble and he brought Kuldeep into the attack. Kuldeep got Warner out, and that really got India back into the test match. And the other thing that stood out was his aggressive batting. India only had to chase down a low total to win the game, but they'd lost some early wickets, and Rahane came in and he took on the short stuff from Patrick Cummins. And I don't know, he got 20 very quickly and made sure the Indians won the game. But it was that aggressive. As a captain, you get many situations and you've got 2 choices. Pretty well always 2 choices. You can take the aggressive route or you take the conservative route. And I think on most occasions, you're best off taking the aggressive route. And that's what impressed me about Rahane's captaincy. I think he'll be fine as a captain, and he got 100 the other day in the practice match.
Can I ask a different question to Azhar, Mr. Ray?
Yeah,
if you
sure.
allow me?
Sure.
Yeah. My question to Azhar is that, Azhar, you said that we should play with 5 bowlers. But do you think that Riddhiman Saha is a good enough batsman to bat at number 6 when the second new ball is coming, or if it's a case of 3 for 20, is he a good enough batsman to bat number 6 for India in place of a Hanuma Vihari probably?
Yes, I think it's good. But whether India goes with 5 bowlers or 3-4 bowlers, we don't know. Because if they go with 4 bowlers, then definitely Hanuman Vihari would play, because he's done well also. He's been scoring runs. But as I've said, that is my personal opinion, that when as a captain, I always felt that 5 bowlers, always the bowlers win the game. So I always played 5 bowlers most of the time. But I think, if the Riddhiman Saha, we have to put confidence on the players, he's done well. It's not that he's not scored runs, he's scored runs. But it remains to be seen, with how many bowlers India would play with, because it depends on the nature of the wicket.
And what about India without Kohli?
Well, I think definitely there will be a very big setback. Kohli is the main player. The good thing about Kohli is he's an aggressive player like, Steve Smith. They always take the scoreboard going, because they play well and they're always looking for runs. I always felt that a batsman, his job is to look for runs, he has to score runs. Then only, you can score. The moment you score runs quickly, then you have more time to get the opposition out. So I always like players who look for runs. Then I think one of the best players. Without him, then in the 3 test matches after that, I mean, it's not going to be easy. But then I think we've got to use to it. I mean, whoever is coming in his place, I mean, will have a huge responsibility.
And who would you have in his place? Would you play Rohit Sharma straight away into a test match in his place?
Well, I think yes, Rohit Sharma should play. And I mean, I don't see any reason why he should not play. I think he's a very good player. It's very unfortunate that he was unable to play in the one days and the T20s because we really don't know about his injuries or whatever it was. So I mean, it's like miscommunication, total miscommunication. But I think if he's there, he should play. Rohit Sharma is one player who's really done well.
So let's then go on to Indranil Basu. Indranil, your question, please.
Hi, to Ian sir and Azharuddin. Sir, last time they were, before the test series started, last time India had toured Australia. So I happened to interact with one of the selectors and I asked him, is it the best chance for us to beat Australia in Australia? And he had said, this is the only chance we have got. Yeah, because they don't have 2 of their best players, Smith and Warner. So to Ian sir and Azhar sir, what are your thoughts this time? Are we going to really seal the series like we did last time, the Border Gavaskar Trophy, or we'll see the Australian way, the Aussie way of crushing the opponents the way they do in their own backyard?
Well, I mean, if you're playing in the game, you got a chance of winning. What you got to do is play well. And if India play really well, yes, they've got a chance. I mean, it's not an unbeatable Australian side, and particularly you take Warner out of the batting lineup, and it's not just the runs that Warner scores, but it's the way he scores them. Scoring quickly at the top of the order has a detrimental effect on the opposition, but it also is a boost to the other players batting at the other end. It's a boost to their confidence. So Warner out is a big blow for Australia. So India have got a chance. The fact that you've got Kohli only playing 1 test match, it's a day-night test match in Adelaide. Warner's not going to be there. I think that's a big opportunity for India to look for a victory. And if they go 1 up early on, you can be very hard to beat from there on, even without Kohli.
Yes, I think they still have one good player playing. I mean, the Warner is not there, but Steve Smith also is a very big block, for the Indian side. But I think, as Ian sir said, that the moment you get out Steve Smith quickly, I mean, then you have a very good chance. Because these are 2 players, who really play well. Especially with Warner. I mean, I like players who, as I've said before, who play well, who score runs quickly. Which I think when you are a batsman, you need to score runs quickly and put the opposition side in a situation where they can't get out of it. And plus, as Ian sir said, that it will have an effect on the other player batting as well on the other hand. But I think it's very hard to say. I mean, we are going to win the series, but I think we have a very good chance. But I think, as everybody says, you have to play well. If you play well, you win. If you don't play well, play well means you have to excel in all the 3 departments. It's just not one batting or bowling or fielding. So we have to excel in all the departments. So I think of late, fielding has been a problem. We've got very, very simple chances, and then our ground fielding also has not been up to the mark. So I think definitely slip fielding is going to be a problem for India.
And one more question, if I'm allowed to ask, is about who is the choice for wicketkeeper for India? Azharuddin sir and Ian Chappell sir. Is it Rishabh Pant? He played the last time India played a test match in New Zealand. He was chosen ahead of Saha. So this time Saha is also in form. He showed a real class in the IPL. He was batting really well. I thought he was batting like a foreign recruit. He's looking good. Rishabh Pant is also there. He's hungry. So who's your choice? Ian sir and Azhar sir.
Well, if you're gonna play 5 bowlers, on what I've seen, I would have thought you have to play Pant because he's the better of the 2 players as a batsman. Wicketkeeper, well, he was all right in Australia last time. But if you're playing 6 batsmen, then it's probably you got to go for the better wicketkeeper, who would be Saha.
Well, I think I agree with the answer, because I mean, if you're looking for a player who really want to play aggressively, I mean, at that number 5 position, then it definitely would be Rishabh Pant. And then if you're playing 6 batsmen, then you have to go with the main wicketkeeper. I totally agree with him. That's the only choice they have now with the wicketkeeper.
And so to complete the conversation, it's over to you, Srinivas Rao.
Thank you so much, and I'm very sorry for joining late. 2 questions, one for Ian and the next one for Azhabai. Ian, if you were a captain plotting against Steve Smith, if Steve Smith was in the opposition and, the batsman that he is, as a captain, how would you plan for a batsman like Steve Smith? Because, and primarily why I ask this question is, it's so easy for him to get into the zone, and once he's in that zone, he doesn't look like he's living in a hurry. So, and it becomes very, very frustrating for any opposition. So, can you dissect Steve Smith, the batsman, for us, and ahead of a series like this? Because Australia has lost against India last year, he wasn't there. So again, because he's here, there's that much more pressure on him. Can you dissect Steve Smith, the batsman, for us?
Well, if you let a really good player bat the way he wants to bat, then you're in trouble. So the first thing is they've got to unsettle Steve Smith, and they've got to change his thinking. As far as I'm concerned, if you bowl short of a length to Steve Smith, you're off your rocker, because you're just playing into his strength. He's very much a back foot player. You've got to get him playing forward. Now, that might cost you a few runs, but the difference is if you bowl and let him play on the back foot, he'll still score a lot of runs, but you won't look like getting him out. But if you get him onto the front foot, he might score some runs, but he'll give you some chances of getting him out. But, and you've got to use the short pitch ball judiciously. Use it as a surprise weapon. He's shown that he can, be unsettled with the short pitch delivery, but I wouldn't be banging it in like New Zealand did all the time. I think it's a waste of energy a lot of the time. But what I would say is when you do let fly with the bouncer to Steve Smith, make it a good one, make it count. And I'd say that about any batsman. You've got to, probably one of the best that I ever faced was Andy Roberts. Every short pitch ball that Andy Roberts bowled me, I had to do something. I had to play it, or I had to try and hook it, or I had to try and get out of the way. And that's what they've got to do to Steve Smith. Make him do something and try and unsettle him and change his thinking. That's very important.
Just to add one small bit here, how dependent is this Australian team on Steve Smith? We talk about India and India being so dependent on Virat Kohli, the one individual who needs to be out there to fire. How dependent is this Australian team's batting on Steve Smith alone, especially with David Warner not being there?
Well, without Warner, that increases the dependence on Steve Smith. I think if you get Steve Smith cheaply, fairly regularly through the series, then you'll find out how good the rest of the Australian batting really is. And so that's what India have got to find out. Find a way to get Steve Smith out reasonably cheaply, but do it regularly, and then you'll find out how good the rest of the batting lineup is.
Right. And Azhabai, Ravindra Jadeja, if he doesn't play the first test match, then what is the combination that you look at? Because he's that crucial all-rounder tag in the middle order. So you remove Ravindra Jadeja, and then how do you pick this 11?
Well, I think I always said, I've been saying in the show previously also, I think looking to play 5 bowlers, maybe leg spinner Chappell should play. But it depends on the combination, what the team are thinking, because I can say so many things, but at the end of the day, the team decide whatever they had to decide, and they will have the first-hand information about the condition. Because however much I can say from here, the conditions which are going to be very helpful. I think if they feel that they're going to go with the 6 batsmen, I think then they will play only 1 spinner. So they might play. Ashwin, they'll only go with Ashwin. But I always feel that, like leg spinner always makes a lot of difference, because people finding it difficult to, play spin with the pink ball. So that is one of the reasons why I always feel that,
But do you see the space for two spinners? Do you see the space for two spinners?
Well, it depends on the wicket. If the wicket is good, the wicket is dry, and then if there is a chance where the ball is going to turn, then definitely you have to go with two spinners. But as that is my thinking, but I doubt they will go with two spinners.
And so one last question to Ian and Azhar. Kohli versus Smith. Who would you pick first in a test match?
Well, I'll let Ian say.
No, go on, Azhar.
I think I personally, I'm a good fan of Kohli also, but I like the way Steve Smith plays, because he plays with, he doesn't care, what's happening, he just plays the way he plays, I really enjoy his batting, with due respect to Kohli, I'm also a very big fan of Steve Smith, because he plays very unconventionally, and then he gives a chance for the bowlers, to get him out. But he a lot of faith in his ability, he has a lot of confidence in his ability, and that's how he's been a successful player. So I like Smith like when he plays, I really enjoy his game, because you don't know where the ball is going to go.
When I'm picking batsmen, a lot of it, Ashis, depends on who I like watching, and I'd prefer to watch Kohli than Smith. Smith is very unorthodox, at times very ungainly, but I really like watching Kohli play. If you've said just test matches, that's a harder decision. If you said all three forms of the game, then to me it's an easy decision. It's Kohli head and shoulders, but I prefer watching Kohli to Smith, so that would be my choice.
Ian, Azhar, Mihir, Srinivas, Kamar, Indranil, Julian, and Kushan. Thank you very much indeed.
And that's how champions play.
India's Tour of Australia, brought to you by ICICI Bank UK Limited.